Most people don't understand the kind of power it takes to live alone, especially as a woman. They whisper behind her back. They question her choices. They assume she's broken, lonely, or unlucky in love. But what if I told you? She's the strongest person in the room. What if I told you? Her solitude is not weakness, it's wisdom. Stay until the end, because the last truth in this message will shift the way you see strength, self-worth, and relationships forever. Solitude is power. There's a big difference between being alone and being lonely, but the world keeps confusing the two. When a woman chooses to live without a boyfriend, without the noise, the drama, the chaos, people think something's wrong with her. But the truth is, that woman is finally right with herself. She has reached a point where her peace matters more than temporary company. She doesn't need someone next to her just to prove she's lovable. She already knows. And that knowing, that's the start of real power. When you stop chasing love for validation and start living from a place of wholeness, everything changes. You no longer need anyone to complete you because you've already completed yourself. She chooses herself first. A woman who lives alone isn't avoiding love. She's avoiding nonsense. She's not bitter, she's better. Better at recognizing her worth. Better at setting her boundaries. Better at choosing silence over chaos. This is a woman who has learned that the world will try to take pieces of her if she lets it, so she doesn't let it anymore. Instead, she wakes up in peace, makes her coffee in quiet, and smiles not because someone texted her "good morning," but because she's proud of who she is becoming. Her mornings are sacred rituals. Sunlight streaming through the blinds, steam rising from her favorite mug, music playing softly, or perhaps just the sound of stillness filling the room. There's power in this solitude, a kind of magic born from knowing herself deeply enough to find joy in her own company. Every part of her life is intentional. Her time, her space, her energy. None of these things are up for grabs by anyone who asks. She knows exactly what they cost, the emotional labor, the mental exhaustion, the slow erosion of self that happens when you give too much to people who don't value you. And she refuses to pay that price again. It took years, maybe even decades, to arrive here, to this place where she understands that saying yes to herself often means saying no to others. But now that she's arrived, there's no turning back. Her home reflects this newfound clarity. The walls aren't cluttered with remnants of relationships past. Instead, they hold art she loves, photos that bring her joy, reminders of moments that truly mattered. Her bookshelf tells a story of growth, novels about women finding their way, memoirs about resilience, journals filled with her own messy handwriting as she worked through heartbreaks and healed old wounds. Even her wardrobe feels like an extension of her soul. Clothes that make her feel powerful, colors that reflect her mood, fabrics that remind her to breathe easy. Everything around her serves a purpose, whether it's functional or purely aesthetic. Nothing exists simply to fill empty spaces. And yet, despite all this intentionality, she's not cold. Far from it. People often mistake her independence for aloofness, but those who know her well understand the warmth beneath the surface. When she invites you into her world, it's genuine. Whether it's sharing laughter over dinner she cooked herself, recommending a podcast episode that changed her perspective, or sitting quietly beside you while you cry because sometimes silence speaks louder than words, it's real. She gives fully when she chooses to give, which makes every interaction meaningful. You'll never catch her pretending to care about something or someone out of obligation. If she's present, it's because she wants to be. This doesn't mean she's immune to loneliness. Of course not. Some nights, after the dishes are done and the apartment is dark, except for the glow of her laptop screen, she might scroll through social media and see couples laughing together or friends gathered around bonfires. For a moment, doubt creeps in. Am I missing something? Shouldn't I want more? But then she remembers, wanting more doesn't mean settling for less. Love isn't supposed to fit awkwardly into your life like shoes that pinch your toes. It should slide on effortlessly, comfortably, enriching everything without overshadowing it. Until she finds that, or until she decides she doesn't need it, she's content exactly where she is. Her confidence intimidates some people, especially men who expect her to play along with outdated scripts about how women should behave. They're used to chasing, fixing, rescuing, but she doesn't need saving. In fact, she's probably saved herself more times than anyone else ever could. So when they ask why she hasn't found the one yet, she shrugs and says, maybe I already have. Because the truth is, she has. She's chosen herself first. She's become her own knight in shining armor, her own safe harbor during storms. And once you've experienced that kind of unconditional self-love, it changes everything. Boundaries are non-negotiable for her now, not out of spite, but out of necessity. She's seen what happens when you let toxic patterns fester unchecked, how resentment builds, how trust crumbles, how both parties end up hurt beyond repair. So she sets limits early and enforces them firmly. No ghosting allowed, no games, no half-hearted promises disguised as effort. If you can't respect her rules, you won't last long in her orbit. But for those who do respect her and genuinely appreciate her strength, they discover something remarkable. She's loyal to the core. Once you earn her trust, she'll stand by you through thick and thin. Just don't expect her to compromise herself along the way. The journey to this point wasn't easy. There were days when she doubted herself, questioned whether being alone was really better than tolerating mediocrity. Breakups left her raw. Friendships tested her patience. Family members urged her to settle down before it was too late. Yet through it all, she kept coming back to one central truth. She deserves better. Not someday, not later, but right now. Today. Every single day. That realization became her guiding light, leading her toward choices that honored her spirit rather than diminished it. Now she moves through the world differently. She walks taller, speaks clearer, laughs louder. She takes risks, not reckless ones, but calculated leaps designed to push her closer to her dreams. Maybe it's starting a business, traveling solo to a country where she doesn't speak the language, or finally pursuing that hobby she always talked about but never made time for. Whatever it is, she approaches it with courage and curiosity. Failure isn't failure to her, it's feedback. Each misstep teaches her something new about herself, reinforcing her belief that growth comes from discomfort. People notice this about her. Strangers compliment her poise. Colleagues admire her work ethic. Friends envy her ability to stay grounded even when life gets chaotic. What they don't always see is the work behind the scenes, the late nights spent journaling, the therapy sessions that helped her unpack years of conditioning, the affirmations whispered to herself in the mirror on mornings when self-doubt threatened to creep in. Becoming the woman she is today required effort, vulnerability, and a willingness to confront hard truths. But she wouldn't trade it for anything. Because here's the thing. Living alone doesn't mean existing in isolation. It means creating a life rich with meaning, surrounded by people and experiences that align with your highest self. It means understanding that love isn't diminished by independence. In fact, it's enhanced by it. A partner, if and when she chooses one, won't complete her. He'll complement her. He'll step into a world already thriving, a woman already whole. And that dynamic, built on mutual respect and admiration, is far more fulfilling than anything rooted in insecurity or dependency. So no, she's not waiting for love. She's building a foundation strong enough to support it when it arrives. Until then, she's perfectly happy dancing in her kitchen, reading under soft blankets, exploring new cities, cheering on her friends, and nurturing the relationship she values most, the one with herself. After all, a woman who chooses herself first isn't just surviving, she's thriving. And that's the greatest love story of all. She doesn't settle. Here's what people don't realize. That woman you see dining alone at the corner table, sipping her wine with a book in hand. She could have 10 men blowing up her phone right now. 10 texts waiting for replies, 10 voices vying for her attention, 10 different versions of, "Hey, are you busy?" But she isn't answering, not because she's playing games, but because none of them feel worth it yet. None of them align with who she is or where she's headed. She's not single because she can't get a man, she's single because she doesn't want the wrong one. Society might whisper that being alone means something is missing, but she knows better. Loneliness isn't a flaw, settling is, and she refuses to trade comfort for chaos, security for uncertainty, self-respect for scraps of affection. Love isn't supposed to leave you questioning your worth, it's supposed to affirm it. So until someone shows up ready to do just that, she'll stay exactly where she is, whole, independent, unapologetically herself. Love isn't foreign to her. She's felt its highs and endured its lows. She's been swept off her feet only to crash back down harder than before. She's given pieces of her heart away only to watch them mishandled, misunderstood, or outright discarded. Those experiences didn't break her, they built her. They taught her how fragile trust can be, how delicate boundaries are, and how rare true partnership really is. Now, when she thinks about love, she doesn't think about butterflies or grand gestures. She thinks about respect, about alignment, about two people choosing each other every day, even on days when the spark feels dimmer than usual. Anything less than that, not interested. She's not afraid of love. Fear has nothing to do with it. What she fears is repeating old patterns, losing herself in someone else's orbit, letting desperation override discernment. She's seen too many women abandon their dreams, silence their voices, shrink themselves to fit into relationships that never deserved them in the first place. That won't be her story. If anything, she's more courageous than most because she's willing to wait for the kind of connection that feels like home, not obligation. The kind that amplifies her light instead of dimming it. Courage, after all, isn't jumping into the deep end blindly. It's knowing your worth and demanding others see it too. Loneliness creeps in sometimes, sure. Late nights when the house feels too quiet, holidays when everyone else seems paired off, moments when she wonders if she's asking for too much. But then she remembers, wanting more doesn't mean accepting less. She deserves someone who matches her energy, who meets her halfway, who sees her ambition as an asset rather than a threat. Someone who celebrates her wins and comforts her losses without needing to control either. Until then, she'd rather sit with solitude than settle for dissatisfaction. This mindset baffles some people. Friends ask why she hasn't put herself out there more. Family members hint that maybe she's being too picky, too stubborn, too idealistic. Even well-meaning co-workers joke about her standards, as if expecting mutual respect and emotional maturity is somehow unreasonable. But she doesn't let their opinions shake her resolve. She knows what they don't, that love shouldn't require compromise in the areas that matter most. You shouldn't have to choose between passion and peace, between excitement and stability, between feeling desired and feeling valued. True love gives you both. Anything else is just noise. Her confidence intimidates some men, especially those accustomed to women chasing, pleading, bending over backward to keep them interested. These men expect her to play by the same rules, to text first, to make excuses for their behavior, to mold herself into whatever shape makes them comfortable. But she doesn't operate that way anymore. She attracts, not chases. Her presence alone draws people in the way she laughs freely, listens intently, speaks honestly. There's no pretense, no game playing, no hidden agenda, just authenticity. And while some men run from that level of transparency, the ones who stay, they're golden. Through the way she carries herself, she sends a message loud and clear: I'm enough. Enough without validation, enough without explanation, enough without apology. This energy radiates outward, creating a magnetic pull toward people who appreciate it. People who understand that loving her means respecting her autonomy, supporting her growth, and meeting her on equal footing. When someone finally steps into her world under these terms, it won't be because she needed saving, it will be because they both recognize the beauty of building something together. And when that person does come along, they won't complete her. Completion implies incompleteness, and she's already whole. No, this person will complement her. He'll bring qualities she admires, perspectives she values, strengths that balance her weaknesses. Together, they'll create something greater than the sum of its parts. But here's the thing, she's not holding her breath for this scenario. If it happens, wonderful. If it doesn't, equally wonderful. Because she's learned that fulfillment doesn't hinge on another person, it starts within. So she continues living her life fully, unattached to outcomes. She travels solo, explores hobbies, invests in friendships, builds her career, nurtures her spirit. Every experience adds layers to her character, making her even more magnetic to the right kind of partner. And if no partner ever arrives, that's fine too. She's already living the kind of life most people dream of, a life marked by purpose, passion, and profound self-love. After all, a woman who doesn't settle doesn't just attract better relationships, she becomes one. Peace is non-negotiable. She's learned something most people never do. Peace is priceless. Once you taste a quiet life, truly experience it. Let it settle into your bones. You don't trade it for anything. Not for drama, not for ego, not even for fleeting moments of passion that leave you more exhausted than exhilarated. Peace isn't just the absence of noise. It's the presence of alignment, of knowing who you are and what you need to thrive. And once you've built a life rooted in self-respect, routine, and clarity, there's no turning back. For her, relationships aren't about filling voids or chasing thrills. They're about enhancing the foundation she's already created. Anything less feels like stepping backward, unraveling threads she worked so hard to weave together. Relationships that bring confusion, cut. No second guessing, no excuses, no, maybe he'll change. Situationships that drain energy, gone. She doesn't have time for half-hearted commitments or emotional roller coasters disguised as connection. A woman who lives alone has cultivated an unshakable reverence for her space, not just the physical walls around her, but the mental sanctuary within. Her home reflects this philosophy. It's clean, but not because she's obsessed with perfection. Every surface wiped down, every pillow fluffed, every corner dusted, it's all done with intention. Each chore becomes a ritual, a way of honoring herself and the environment she's built. She knows that clutter breeds chaos, both externally and internally. When her surroundings are orderly, her mind follows suit. There's power in walking into a room and feeling calm wash over you, knowing everything has its place, including you. Her space isn't sterile or impersonal. It's warm, inviting, alive with little touches that make it uniquely hers. Candles flicker on shelves, plants stretch towards sunlight, books line tables waiting to be revisited. This is her world, carefully curated and fiercely protected. Because here's the truth. Peace isn't just a mood, it's a life path. It's a decision made daily, sometimes hourly, to prioritize what nurtures your spirit over what depletes it. For her, this means setting boundaries without apology, saying no when something feels off, walking away from situationships that promise excitement but deliver exhaustion. Protecting her peace isn't selfish, it's survival. People often misunderstand this, calling her difficult or too serious, but she doesn't care. Difficult is trying to coexist with toxicity. Serious is refusing to compromise your well-being for someone else's comfort. She's neither of those things. She's deliberate, intentional, unapologetically herself. If someone wants to step into her world, they must understand the rules, or rather, the rhythm. They must come bearing respect, calm, and emotional maturity. Drama won't fly here. Passive aggression won't slide unnoticed. Half-truths and mixed signals will get shown the door faster than they arrived. This isn't negotiable. If you want access to her heart, you also inherit responsibility for safeguarding it. That's what love looks like to her. Two people committed to protecting each other's peace, not disrupting it. And yet, despite these firm boundaries, she's not closed off. Quite the opposite. Those lucky enough to earn their way into her inner circle find a depth of connection few ever experience. Conversations flow effortlessly because they're built on mutual understanding and trust. Laughter comes easily because there's no underlying tension or hidden agendas. Even silence feels rich, comfortable, companionable. In her presence, people instinctively lower their guards because they sense they're safe. Safe to be vulnerable, safe to speak honestly, safe to simply exist as they are. That's the gift of being with someone who prioritizes peace. It spills over into everyone around them. But she didn't arrive at this level of clarity overnight. It took years of trial and error, missteps and lessons, heartbreaks and breakthroughs. She's been in relationships where chaos reigned supreme, where communication broke down, where resentment festered, where love felt more like a battlefield than a refuge. Each experience taught her something new about herself, about what she would tolerate and what she wouldn't. Eventually, she realized that peace wasn't something she could outsource to another person. It had to start within her, radiating outward until it became the filter through which she viewed every interaction, every decision, every potential relationship. Now, she moves through the world differently. She carries herself with a quiet confidence that says, I know my worth and I won't settle for anything less. Strangers might mistake this for aloofness, but those who take the time to truly know her see the softness beneath the strength. They see how deeply she values authenticity, how much she cherishes balance, how fiercely she protects the sanctuary she's built for herself and for anyone fortunate enough to share it. Some days, the outside world tries to creep in. Work stress, societal expectations, family dynamics, all of it threatens to disrupt her equilibrium. But she's learned tools to combat these intrusions. Meditation helps center her thoughts. Journaling allows her to process emotions before they spiral. Nature reminds her of the bigger picture, grounding her in gratitude. These practices aren't luxuries, they're necessities. They're part of the infrastructure that keeps her peace intact, even when life gets loud. When people ask her secret to living alone happily, she smiles and says, "It's simple, I choose peace every single day." What she doesn't say, but what they eventually realize, is that choosing peace isn't passive, it's active. It requires vigilance, discipline, and courage. It means saying goodbye to people and situations that threaten to disturb your harmony. It means standing firm in your convictions, even when others call you stubborn or unrealistic. It means trusting yourself enough to believe that you deserve nothing less than a life filled with serenity and joy. In the